These are my thoughts on The Acolyte, the Star Wars miniseries on Disney+, Season 1, Episode 7. This episode is called Choice. The episode is rated TV-14, so will this video be? Yeah, I love the episode, as most, Star Wars movies and shows in general. Yes, and I'm spoiling everything Star Wars leading up to and including this episode. So, yeah, I really appreciate how the show continues to criticize law enforcement. We're basically... There's some very salient criticism of the institution here. Basically, some of this we already knew, but this episode provides more detail. We really see, 100% what happened on Brendok 16 years prior to the events of the rest of the show. It was a police raid gone bad, where the police should have de-escalated the situation. And this is something that's happened many, many times in the real world, so I really appreciate that. I don't know exactly where they're, when you criticize law enforcement, there's usually some line that you reach, and personally, I would say not every single individual who joins law enforcement is intentionally choosing evil, but the ones who don't go against the rest of the force are tacitly endorsing the evil of, not the institution itself doesn't have to be evil, but in its current form in countries like America, it's rotten to the core. So, and this is something that former cops themselves have pointed out. Off the top of my head, there's an excellent YouTuber, I believe he goes by That Dang Dad. He's made multiple videos where he criticizes law enforcement, and he used to be a cop, so this is not only an outsider's point of view. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where they're going to draw the line, because I would not say that every single cop Jedi that we've seen on the show so far has seemed completely necessarily part of the problem. Like, Jackie and Yord, I didn't really get, Yord was a little bit of, could be a little bit of a arrogant jerk, annoying kind of thing. But, and I would definitely say, yeah, as of this episode, it's very clear Soul definitely has major character flaws. But yeah, I'm not 100% certain if the show is going to come down on basically the Jedi were doomed to fail because of these fundamental flaws, or it's going to be a few bad apples. Thank goodness we got to the good Jedi. That is the thing. Like, in recent years, the canon, are Jedi good or bad? I would like to see a post-Jedi Star Wars. I think that could be very interesting. I don't... and I thought that before they were this explicitly cops. But, apparently the next... I forget if there's just going to be one movie or a trilogy, but they're making more movies with Rey, which I have no problem with. I hope they give her at least slightly better material. I do think the actress can pull it off. I think it was mostly the writing that failed her character, not the acting, and not the core concept of her character. That's, quite... There's something compelling there. They just failed to capitalize on it, which is J.J. Abrams in a nutshell. But yes, well, let's see. Where was I? Yes, apparently the new Rey movie or movies is going to be about her, making a new Jedi temple or starting a Jedi temple, trying to train Jedi. Maybe that can also I mean, it would be a complete waste of potential if they don't use that to try to criticize some of the fundamentals of the Jedi. But I don't know if it necessarily means they're going to go post-Jedi. It really looked like that was something they were actually going to do at near the very end of The Last Jedi, when Rey, seems to seriously be considering joining Kylo in a post-Jedi, post-Sith kind of thing. And then, I think Rian Johnson did want for her to go through that, and then, Disney panicked. But, yeah. So, I think I've said what I wanted to about that. So, something I really appreciate about this is we get the answers. Soul has had this wounded expression to him from the start. So now we're finding out why, and yeah, it really, what happened on Brendok was not really the Coven's fault in that much. Like, I appreciate that to an extent. Let's see if I can find her name. Mother Coral definitely does bear some responsibility. In fact, yes, I'm gonna just briefly explore that. I really appreciate. I don't love stories where children are just evil. I really don't think that's an idea we need to be putting in. There's a lot of adults who look at children and they just can't see any humanity in there, when really, like, I'm not saying kids are perfect, but it's like, with a lot of children, it is just that their needs, they need to be taught impulse control, and they don't yet have as much perspective as we adults do, and not all of us adults do anyway. I really appreciate, because yeah, I was this thing of like, oh, May's just a bad seed, she's just an evil little kid, going around killing, she kills her twin sister, and here we see, no, she didn't mean for the fire, and I really appreciate, because, like, I haven't rewatched season 1, episode 3 since watching this episode, but I'm pretty sure, because that was from Osha's point of view, that was what she was, the little window, I think it is consistent that, we couldn't see that May was like, oh no, what did I do, and trying to put out the fire. It just looked like she just, I guess it looked like she left her there to die, something like that, so yeah. May is not this evil little kid. She's struggling with impulse control. She doesn't quite have the perspective. And also this time we see she was burning the drawings that Osha had made to basically, like, say, this is gone. You can't do this. She wasn't trying to burn her to death, and from Osha's certain point of view, yeah, it did look, because that's, again, kids, they don't quite yet have the perspective. So if a kid sees something that looks violent, they're gonna think, oh, that's pure evil. They're not necessarily gonna think, oh wait, no, maybe that was an accident, maybe there's something going, And let's see, but yeah, May, she's distraught. She runs out, and I already forgot her name. I'm sorry, Mother Corell. I swear, I mean no disrespect. Mother Corell. No, yeah, that is definitely her. Yes. Corell, she encounters May, and she pushes her. She says, get angry and use that. So what we're seeing is not May, the evil little kid. What we're seeing is Corell, the irresponsible parental figure. When children, do something wrong, or start considering doing something wrong, it is crucial for us adults to reach out to them and de-escalate and get them to a place where they no longer want to do the bad thing. And yeah, when that is not the case, when the person they trust instead encourages this bad behavior, yeah, you end up with people doing, really bad things. So I really appreciate that. And that brings us very nicely to... Oh, right, yeah. Okay, before I get to Soul, I did just want to briefly say, I appreciate that they pay, Kelnaka up until this point had basically been like Chekhov's gun. They even, in this episode, they even, oh, it's unwise to insult a Wookiee's, cooking. And we've been told Wookiees quick to anger, very, very strong. It's one of the first things we learn, yeah. One of the first things we learn about Chewbacca. Holy crap, I'm struggling. No, I'm pretty sure that's in A New Hope. Way back then, we're told Wookiees, if they lose at space chess, they will rip your arms off, So, yeah, and it also, they brought back... I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. His name is, of course, apparently not listed on... Okay, it's got to be in here. Here we go. Jonas Swatamo. And again, I apologize if I mispronounce that. He played Chewbacca multiple times, and, yes, he nails the Wookiee body language and such. But if you're going to bring him in, yeah, you got to give him some kind of cool action to do. And him just, like, ragdolling Torben, and, it legitimately, I wasn't sure how they were going to resolve it until Indara showed up. And she chooses to kill, like, I appreciate that some might disagree with me on this, but as far as I could tell, she knew what she was doing. She knew that what she was doing was killing the Coven. She didn't think, oh, this is like, just, I'm just waking him from hypnosis. No, like, clearly it's the scanners thing. Their minds are connected, and she can't get the Coven out of Kelnaka's mind without severing that connection and killing them. And, we also see, like, Soul wasn't like, oh no, why are they, why is the Coven dead? He didn't seem surprised. Like, he had basically by then resigned himself to the fact that Indara just killed all these people when they were just defending themselves, So, let's see. Yeah. Soul, I appreciate that not everybody necessarily thought this, but I will say the first thing that popped into my head with the whole Soul thing in this episode was Taxi Driver, the Scorsese movie. Absolute masterpiece. Travis Bickle and Soul both project what they want onto other people and try to convince other people, sometimes even successfully, no, this is what you want. This is forget me. This is what you want, remember? And it's not that they're always incorrect in interacting, in trying to change a situation. But they are sometimes very incorrect, and they sometimes make things so much worse than was at all necessary. And yeah, I don't know if that was what they were specifically thinking about when they were making this episode, but it's possible that they both got the idea from a third source. But yeah, that is very much, and I think the actor does a phenomenal job. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Lee Jung Jae, who plays Soul. Yeah, up until this episode, he's basically just, we've seen after Brendok Soul, and yeah, there's clearly something going on there, but he is hiding all this stuff, and here we're seeing it come out, and yeah, like, he does phenomenal. Like, it feels like this is consistent with his character, but also, like, you could tell, like, they were all such different people back then, And I really appreciate that, yeah, it's, this show does so well at these moral grays, which is perhaps why they brought in Carrie Ann Moss, who also absolutely killed it on Jessica Jones. You know, I'm so glad she's still acting. I'm so glad that, like, if I hadn't seen her in anything other than Matrix, the Matrix trilogy, where she's good, or trilogy now, you know, yeah, I would think, oh, she's a badass. But I wouldn't appreciate just how talented she is. You know, it's stuff like this, Jessica Jones, and Memento that really show. I'm so glad she's gotten to do other stuff than just Matrix. There's some actors, they're stuck with playing the exact same role over and over for the rest of their career. I'm so glad that hasn't happened to her. Yes, let's see. The right. I also appreciate why, you know, why Kelnaka, like, basically went into exile, like, left a planet. Like, imagine you attack your friends, you know, people close to you. That's gotta be, like, how do you recover from that? Like, he could have killed them. He, like, yeah. And yeah, Torben also hit him really hard. You know, Indara, I guess we don't know that much about. She seemed, yeah, she did. It did hit her when she saw grown-up May. You know, fairly shortly before May killed her, and Soul has been, yeah, wounded ever since by this. But yeah, I really appreciate that Soul, he sees and hears just enough. You know, like, he makes too big of a deal out of the mark, and I appreciate Indara calling him on that. Lots of cultures have marks, and then he points out, yeah, but I think they haven't done the thing yet. I think, you know, that we can stop them. Which, again, like, think about how incredibly disrespectful that is. Like, imagine if you and your loved ones were in the middle of a religious ceremony and cops break down the door and say, we are taking your child. That's, nobody is okay with that. You know, there's cops who would be like, okay, let's calm down here. This is not, let's talk this through before we do anything rash. Or maybe they just engage in violence. That's what a lot of cops would do. Anyway, yeah, but, you know, he sees and hears just enough. Like, he saw the training, which, yeah, you know, could look somewhat violent. And that choice of words, you know, you know, how are you gonna, first there's the thing of, how are you gonna run this place, your children? I don't know. And, you know, oh, but they said, you know, you must walk through fear. Everybody has to make sacrifices, which does make it sound like, oh, they're gonna kill these kids so they can live long, like, you know, like a vampire thing, or some, you know, which, yeah, I don't think that is how it's meant to be interpreted. But, and that's the thing, like, the word sacrifice, like, maybe it just means sacrificing some of your freedom. You can't leave, but you'll be helping the entire group. And that's, you know, there's a lot of communities who would say, no, we need you, you can't leave. You know, at the very least, you can't leave unless unless someone comes in to take your place or something, you know. But, you know, Soul has built up this idea in his head that you know, she's in danger. So when he hears the word sacrifice, he immediately thinks they're going to kill her. I'm saving a life, you know, and that's, yeah, very, very Travis Bickle there. I feel like there was something else. Right, and yeah, the thing of, you know, Mother Anisea, you know, is like turning to mist, and Soul stabs her, and, you know, and that's where we get the thing of, you know, May, you know, being, you know, Indara says, Jedi do not attack the unarmed, and May responding, yes, you do. You know, and it is this great thing, because he sees something he doesn't understand from someone he's built up this idea in his head is dangerous, and he assumes that if he uses violence, it will protect someone that is innocent. And, you know, I really appreciate right after, although I appreciate maybe it's somewhat cheesy or corny, but the fact that Anastasia says, no, I was going to let her leave. You know, I wasn't trying to fight back, you know, and again, you know, to her, this is something she just does, you know. It's not like she got a weapon out or something, but it, you know, yeah, Soul didn't know exactly what she was going to do and assumed that it was dangerous. Let's see, and yeah, I really, really appreciated that Coral, you know, after Anastasia, after Soul kills Anastasia, Coral wants revenge. And I do also appreciate, like, this is actually the only time we see, like, violence committed by one of the Coven is Coral with the spear. She also, you know, somewhat attacks May, although that's to agitate her. You know, other than that, they attack by controlling the mind of Kelnaka. And let's see, yes. So she gets the spear out, and she's like attacking him, and he's not drawing his lightsaber, and you know he's dodging some blows and such, but every so often she manages to hit him, and he doesn't have like a face of like, oh, you know, why did you do that? He has a face of like, I deserve this. I'm 100% in the wrong, you know. And she says, fight me, because she needs him to keep being the monster that he just showed he's capable of being. And the fact that he's now stopped being that monster, even briefly, she feels bad about trying to kill him. She can't kill someone without it being in self-defense, without them being the aggressor. You know, Soul just did, although, again, as said, one can understand where he's coming from. But, yeah, I really appreciate the psychological realism of that. I think that might be what... yeah, right. I appreciate the end of the episode where we see the decision made to start lying. You know, the thing of... I think it's Indara who says, you know, will... Yeah, she tells Soul, you know, remember why you did this. Do you really want... How big do you want the consequence to be, kind of thing. You know, we'll just have to say there was a fire. And Osha wakes up and Soul says, you know, May started a fire. You know, which I'm fairly confident we saw him tell her that in episode 3, but that, you know, yeah, at the time we thought that he was telling the truth. So yeah, really appreciate that, you know, they're willing to get quite this dark. And the fact that, yeah, 100%, like, what did they say? 50, there were 50 people in that coven, you know, and, yeah, by the end of this thing, most of them, I guess the only two who survived were the 2 kids, and most of them died when Indara severed the connection between their collective mind and Kelnaka's. You know, which, like, I appreciate, you know, they had to do something, but, like, I feel like they could probably have tried to get away from their, like, Indara got there in, like, some kind of vehicle, like, you know, let's see, if she temporarily subdued... Because she wasn't killing them from moment 1. She started by subduing Kelnaka. Have the other 3 jump on the... Did they get there by speeder bikes? I guess maybe that was it, or something like that. You know, and then Indara jumps up at the last moment, and then they, you know, take off. Because as far as we can tell, the Coven don't have vehicles like that. They appear to only travel on foot. So, you know, okay, yeah, Kelnaka would be stuck there. But then at that point, maybe you could send like a droid and just communicate, we screwed up, this is on us. Can we have Kelnaka back? We will leave you alone if you do. Something like that. It wasn't necessary to kill 50 people to or is it 48 without the two? Oh, anyway, so yeah, I really appreciate that. And I also don't think they pushed it too far. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, I guess they're just plain evil now. You do appreciate that they acted, they everything a Jedi does in this episode, they think is the best course of action at the time. Right, I liked seeing Torben. We saw what he saw when Anisea was yeah, and the fact that she in the earlier episode it did look creepy, and it's like, I'll return him to his right mind. So it's like, oh, she's got him like this kind of weird trance. No, she's communicating with him, and she's yeah, it's the fact that he wants to go home. He's and that is, how do you get to a Jedi without using physical force? You poke at the little things that make, because it's difficult. The idea of someone having to give up anything they want for themselves in order to serve something, and from childhood. I'm not saying it's impossible. I am aware that for the Jedi ideology, the George Lucas drew upon some yeah faiths or religions, or I'm not criticizing those faiths and religions, but yeah, for a lot of people that's going to be very, very difficult. Yeah, really, really excited to see the finale next week. Hoping to get to it next week. We'll see. I will definitely get to it as soon after it comes out as at all I can. So yeah, catch you for the finale.